Welcome. I'm Daniel, and this is Horror Tales. Today we're delving into mysterious stories that'll send shivers down your spine. No more delays. Let's dive right into the heart of the unknown. The snow crunched merrily underfoot, blanketing the world in a pristine, white hush. 10-year-old Lucy, bundled in a scarlet coat and knitted mittens, giggled with her brother, Ethan, as they raced towards the looming silhouette of their grandparents' cabin. Christmas Eve had finally arrived, and with it, the promise of crackling fires, steaming mugs of cocoa, and mountains of presents. As they trudged closer, the cabin seemed to sink deeper into the shadows cast by the towering pines. Its windows, once sparkling with warm light, were shrouded in an unsettling darkness. An uneasy sensation prickled Lucy's skin like a forgotten Christmas carol gone sour. "Grandma! Grandpa!" Ethan called out, his voice echoing hollowly through the frozen trees. No answer. The silence pressed down, thick and suffocating. Lucy's smile faltered, replaced by a knot of worry in her stomach. Pushing open the creaking front door, a blast of stale air whipped through the dusty interior. The familiar scent of cinnamon and wood smoke was absent, replaced by something cold and metallic, like the tang of forgotten blood. Their footsteps sounded like drumbeats in the eerie quiet. The once cozy living room, usually ablaze with festive decorations, was bare and desolate. Cobwebs draped the furniture like macabre garlands, and a layer of undisturbed dust lay thick on the mantelpiece. The only light came from a single guttering candle, casting long, dancing shadows that writhed and twisted on the walls. A feeling of dread, cold and clammy, crept up Lucy's spine. This wasn't right. This wasn't Christmas. Something was terribly, terribly wrong in the snowbound cabin. And then, from the darkest corner of the room, a whisper stirred the stillness. A single chilling word that sent shivers down their spines. "Welcome." The whisper, like a spider's thread in the frozen air, sent Ethan scrabbling behind Lucy. His eyes, wide with terror, darted around the shadows-drenched room. Lucy, despite the tremor in her legs, forced herself to stand tall. This wasn't the time for childish fear. They had to find their grandparents. Candlelight flickered on a worn leather-bound book lying open on the dusty coffee table. Its pages, yellowed with age, were filled with strange symbols and indecipherable scrawls. A chill seeped from the book, as if the very ink contained the secrets of a forgotten winter. Hesitantly, Lucy reached out, the tip of her finger hovering over a cryptic inscription. "Don't touch it!" Ethan's voice cracked with panic, but it was too late. As Lucy's finger grazed the symbol, a jolt of icy energy shot through her. The candle sputtered and died, plunging the room into an inky blackness. In the heart of that darkness, something stirred. A low growl, guttural and primal, resonated from the shadows. The air grew thick with the stench of damp earth and decay. It clawed at their throats, making it hard to breathe. Then, 2 points of malevolent red light pierced the darkness, burning from somewhere deep within the gloom. Lucy stumbled back, tripping over a fallen chair. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a trapped bird desperate for escape. The red eyes drew closer, growing larger, brighter, until they filled her vision. In their depths, she glimpsed a monstrous form, half hidden by the shadows, its outline shifting and changing like smoke in a winter wind. Ethan whimpered beside her, tears streaming down his face. His small hand clutched at hers, the only anchor in the swirling vortex of terror. They were alone, trapped in a nightmare come to life, with a malevolent entity stalking them in the darkness. The growl intensified, morphing into a blood-curdling roar that shook the very foundations of the cabin. The unseen horror lunged, a dark blur hurtling towards them. In that split second, Lucy knew they were no match for the creature from the shadows. Their Christmas Eve joy had curdled into a chilling survival struggle, with the very essence of their innocence hanging in the balance. And then, just as the creature's icy claws reached for them, a new sound tore through the darkness. A rhythmic hammering, like a fist pounding on wood, echoed from upstairs. The red eyes flickered, momentarily diverted from their prey. For a fleeting moment, hope sparked in Lucy's heart. Could it be? With a desperate cry, she scrambled to her feet, dragging Ethan with her. They had to get out of there, now, but which way? The darkness pressed in, suffocating and disorienting. Then she remembered. The forgotten passager hidden behind the tapestry in the hallway. It was their only chance. Blinded by fear and darkness, they stumbled towards the hallway, the creature's enraged shrieks chasing them like icy claws down their spines. Reaching the tapestry, Lucy fumbled with trembling fingers, finally finding the hidden button. The wall slid open, revealing a narrow, cobweb-draped passage. "Go!" she gasped, pushing Ethan through the opening. He disappeared into the darkness, followed by the deafening snarl of the creature close behind. For a moment, Lucy hesitated, torn between following her brother and facing the horror alone. But then a faint sound stopped her, a muffled cry, a familiar voice calling her name. It was coming from upstairs, from the source of the rhythmic hammering. With a surge of desperate determination, Lucy turned and raced towards the stairs, leaving the darkness and the creature behind. The fate of their Christmas, and perhaps their very lives, hung in the balance, waiting to be unearthed in the shadows above. The pounding grew louder as Lucy clambered up the creaking stairs, each groan of the wood echoing her own racing pulse. The air grew colder, heavy with the musty scent of damp brick and forgotten memories. Each step felt like a descent into an unknown abyss, but the frantic cry pulling her onwards was stronger than her fear. At the top of the stairs, a heavy wooden door hung ajar, a sliver of candlelight spilling out from within. With a final gulp of air, Lucy pushed the door open, revealing a scene she wouldn't have believed even in her wildest nightmares. The attic was not a dusty collection of forgotten toys and moth-eaten furniture, as she'd expected. It was a workshop, ablaze with a roaring fire and bathed in the golden glow of dozens of candles. At the centre stood her grandfather, his face etched with worry but his eyes filled with relief as he looked upon her. He wasn't alone. Huddled beside him, tear-streaked and shaking, was Ethan. But that wasn't all. Beside them, perched on a workbench, was a miniature reindeer, crafted from the finest wood and glowing with an inner light. Its antlers, however, weren't made of bone, but of polished silver, gleaming with an icy sheen. Before Lucy could ask anything, her grandfather rushed forward, pulling her into a tight embrace. His voice, normally so jovial, was choked with emotion. "Thank goodness you're safe, my darling. I feared—" He stopped abruptly, his gaze turning to the attic window. Through the frosted glass, Lucy could see the dark silhouette of the creature, pacing restlessly outside. Its red eyes burned like embers in the night, hungry and malevolent. "We have to leave?" her grandfather said, his voice low and urgent. "This place is no longer safe." He grabbed a worn backpack from a nearby table and began stuffing it with tools and trinkets. The miniature reindeer watched them with its luminous eyes, a flicker of intelligence glinting within. "But what about the creature?" Lucy asked, her voice trembling. "It's an ancient spirit," her grandfather explained, his words clipped. "Bound to this cabin by a forgotten curse. Only this," he tapped the silver antlers of the reindeer, "can break it." He thrust the backpack into Lucy's arms, then scooped up Ethan. "Now, you two run. Go down the passage behind the tapestry. It leads straight outside. Don't look back no matter what you hear." Tears welled up in Lucy's eyes as she hugged her grandfather goodbye. "Where are you going?" He gave her a reassuring smile, his eyes twinkling with a familiar mischief. "Just a bit of late-night reindeer repairs, my dear. We wouldn't want Santa stuck on Christmas Eve, now would we?" With that, he pushed them towards the hidden passage, his own footsteps masked by the rhythmic hammering that had resumed downstairs. As they slipped through the opening, Lucy heard a deafening roar shake the cabin, followed by a clash of wood and metal. They didn't dare look back. They ran, hearts pounding, through the dusty passage and out into the crisp December air. The cabin stood dark and silent behind them, its windows now glowing with an eerie crimson light. They reached the safety of the forest, bathed in the soft glow of a rising moon. The air was still thick with the echo of their fear, but a flicker of hope remained. Their grandfather was facing the nightmare alone, wielding a miniature reindeer made of silver ice as his only weapon. Lucy knew then that this Christmas Eve would be one they would never forget. A night not of carols and cookies, but of courage and sacrifice, of facing unimaginable horrors and clinging to the flickering spark of hope. The fate of their Christmas, and perhaps their very lives, hung in the balance, waiting to be decided by the clash of light and darkness within the snowbound cabin. And even as they raced towards the warmth and safety of home, a tiny seed of doubt lingered in Lucy's mind. Had her grandfather truly banished the creature, or had he simply bought them precious time with his risky gambit? The answer, she knew, awaited them under the twinkling lights of their own Christmas tree, alongside the gifts and the cheer. But for now they held on to the fragile joy of escape, the echo of their grandfather's laughter ringing in their ears, a whispered promise that even in the darkest night, hope could still take flight. Thanks for diving into the unknown with me on Horror Tales. If you enjoyed the stories, hit like and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious. This is Daniel, signing off.